This is the Moondrop Variations. This is a single dynamic 2-balanced armature 2 EST set. It's priced at approximately $520, I believe is what it is. If you look at it, you can see the cap. Touching it feels slightly cool, so it's made out of some kind of metal. It's got like a smoked resin, you can barely see through it, type of shell. It's got a 2-pin, I believe slightly recessed connector. The cable is honestly quite ghetto. Moondrop has a history of not really doing great with the cables, but a lot of people are already switching this off. I don't think that that's a deal breaker, but I'm not a fan of the cable, actually. The strength of this in performance would probably be related to its sub-bass tuning, and that would be something like vocals centric, like a Jim Croce with a guitar, a vocalist on a stool, not a lot of busy low frequency instruments going on, no sense of lacking a mid bass because there really isn't anything that's going to show that you that would be a vocal centric stuff. Anybody with vocals. Another one would be Massive Attack, which usually seems to have a lot of sub-bass focused droning or beats, and the lack of mid-bass really might not appear, or you might not note that at all. So Massive Attack would be another one. Vivaldi, though there is low frequency there, it doesn't seem like it's being taken away as you're focusing a lot in the mids with a lot of the strings. I found it to be a nice replay on this set. It wouldn't do as well with things like a lot of rock and roll that has 4-string bass guitars and kick drums, because the mid-bass de-emphasis or the lack of is something that you might note. It's a good set. It's technically good, but it's probably best for certain genres, and those are among the ones that I can think of in my library. Jim Croce and Like That, Massive Attack and Like That, trip hop, maybe EDM, and something like Vivaldi. I can't speak to jazz because I don't know. Hopefully there's a graph up around here, and I put some album art here to give you an idea of about that, and also you get a close-up look at it. People complain about that sometimes. I don't know if that's a breather hole. It might be. Again, build quality is quite decent. This might come off, but it's not really going to change the sound. I've measured this one as well as this one, and there was no difference whatsoever. It's really just you can see the little piece of glue for there. So that's the Variations. It's a good set. I think it's gonna excel with libraries. Depending on your library, it's going to be great, or it's not going to be great. And that's the Variation. Okay, this is the Shuoer EJ07M. This is a 1 dynamic driver, 2 balanced armatures, and 4 EST. Unlike some of the others, this actually has 4 ESTs in it. This is going for $5.99 right now. It's all steel or aluminum shell. It's actually not very heavy, so maybe it's a kind of an aluminum. The cable that comes with it is decent. It's a little less spidery than the Variations. This one's terminated at 3.5. I use the ADI 2 deck, so that works out perfectly for me. Looks like it's got a breather hole right there, and there might be another one on here. This is I believe it's a slightly recessed 2-pin. It's got a, I don't know what kind of cap that is on there. It's actually a metal cap. You can see the seam right here. Tuning of this is more balanced compared to the Variation. It's got a little bit more mid-bass, but it is tucked in a little bit. I would think that based on the graphing of this and my listening experience, stuff that would go good with this, hopefully there'll be a graph up on the left side. Stuff like, very similar to the Oracle in a way. I would say stuff like Metallica, fast speed guitars, lots of hi-hat strikes because the treble does well. Drums sound decent. This is really cutting the line when it comes to the reproduction of 4-string bass guitars and kick drums, but it in fact does it well. AC/DC, like Metallica, I think this would sound good. Elton John, piano sound great. The way that they did the mid-tuning on this is quite good. The only real thing that I can find to be a ding with this sonically is that it's, like the Variations, tightened up in the mid-sub-bass area, and for the Variation, it's audibly clear when you listen to my library. And with this, it is the sound of the kick drum on when the levy breaks on the up sounds very natural and extended and authoritative. On this, it sounds authoritative. It's notably louder than a regular kick drum, but it doesn't quite sound authentic. And on the variations, that doesn't even really sound the way that I'm familiar with. So this is like 3 levels of quality. This would be more towards probably rock-based library, though I think it would probably do fine with all genres. Like the Oracle, this is really a jack of all trades. It doesn't really stumble. The extended treble is fine. The harmonics are good. The bass is good. It's emphasized. It's a little tight on the mid bass, but besides that, it's a good set. And that is the EJ07M, the follow-up to the original EJ07, with the same driver count. I believe it's $200 to $300 cheaper, and it's got better tuning in some people's mind than the original EJ07. So this is a winner for a lot of people, and that is the EJ07M. Here's the video for the Mangird XENNS, I think, up. This is a 1 dynamic, 4 balanced armature, 2 EST. If anybody knows what these tips are, these yellow ones, let me know, because these fit me awesome. I use them on everything. They're on this set right now because it's the last one I listened to. It's got a beryllium dynamic driver. It sounds like it does. The whole point of that is to stiffen the diaphragm and to make the performance, makes the driver go faster or not sound slower. This would be more expensive at around $699 currently. The library that probably would match this best would be really anything with a little touch of fun to it. Black Sabbath would be one that I would put up here. Tupac or anything that's got hip-hop deck mixed hits would sound good with this. Led Zeppelin, since it's the track When the Levee Breaks that I'm focusing on with the kick drum, and this is a great replay of that. Variations is not. The EJ07M is a little bit better, and this would be the ideal replay of that. So this is probably the set that most matches my library. When people do reviews, library play, there's people that are into K-pop, J-pop, and other things. That is a very different type of replay and what you're looking for than what I listen to. So library is huge. Consider that, please. Something like Vivaldi, the Four Seasons, this actually sounds quite good. You might think that it doesn't, but the tuning of this is great. So you've got a dynamic driver, you've got 4 ESTs, you got 2 BAs. They're all Sonion, and you've got the benefit of the beryllium. It's a great set. I like it a lot. And that is the XENNS Up. Probably last video I'll do for this for a while. It's like the 3rd video. And that's it for that one. Here's a video for the ThieAudio Oracle. This is a 1 dynamic, 2 BA, 2 EST, which is just like the variations. It is about $539 if I recall, so it's within about $10 of the variations. This is actually a set that's probably most similar to the fit is, these are slightly smaller than the Monarch and the Clairvoyance. These fit me fine. I don't have any problems with the fit on these, but the Monarch and the Clairvoyance could sometimes be a little chonky, kind of big. The material is made out of a resin plastic. It's quite light. The cable that comes with this is, I sometimes just forget about how nice this cable is until I am sitting here now looking at the EJ07M, which is not that bad. It's okay. The variations, which is a mess. There's a lot of people that love this set, and they're already talking about other cables that you should use, and I kind of agree. And then there's the XENNS, and it was doing fine until I just moved it over there, and now it's looking kind of like a mess. This is always easy to wrap up and put back in. I have no idea what this cable is, but it's quite nice. This one's terminated 2.5. This is a set that is very kind of balanced, is a way to put it, in its tuning. It has got a slight warmth, a bump in the sub bass, but it's not really emphasized. Otherwise, it's got the typical ear gain, and it's slightly subdued, and then it goes all the way off the scale. It will play really anything. It doesn't have the energy that the Up has, but it's probably more accurate than the variations because it's, and actually the EJ07M, because it doesn't have that tilt. Remember, frequency graphs is an amplitude scale, and when you push one area up and you don't do anything to the other, your ears are going to pick that up if you listen to certain instruments. In my library, this is the safest rec as far as someone says, I listen to this and that and that. If they say I'm really into bass and I want a big punch, then I would think, I might not wreck this one because it's accurate in the bass, in the replay of 4-string bass guitars and kick drums, but it's not really emphasized to the point where people that love their low frequency energy might like. And if they like things like massive attack, they might actually be looking for the variations. And if they like just a real good punch, they'd be looking for the XENNS UP. But this isn't going to be a wreck that might go wrong. The Oracle would probably be the best that I could think of out of these four, just because I can't think of what it doesn't do. It could do some stuff better, like the bass impact, but that's about it. I can't really think of much else with it. This would be the all-arounder. I would say for this, I would put the same library that I put for the EJ07M, because it's like that with less modification of the sub bass. So I guess that would be Metallica, AC/DC, and Elton John, if that's what I said. If not, I'll just put that up anyway, because those are three that seem... This will play piano great, which would be Elton John. This will play crunchy guitars, plus Bon Scott, vocals quite well, won't overemphasize any vocals, period. So AC/DC would good. And it would do fast guitars, fast kick drums. This doesn't have any issues with kick drums or 4-string bass guitar. It simply doesn't emphasize it. So the XENNS would be the fun set. But I listen to music because music is fun. I go to live shows because it's fun, so that's a compliment. I would listen to the variations if I listened more to stuff like vocal-centric stuff, lots of vocals, because the way that they tune it, with the 3K being usually the peak for the Moondrops, and also the very strong sub-bass emphasis. Again, this would be something that would be loved by many, but my library just not really. And the EJ07M, very close to this in the way that it's boosting the sub bass, but it's a little bit less emphasized, and so it's a little less distracting, but it's really close to not being okay. But it does what it's supposed to do. This does that no problem with emphasis, and this does what these two don't do as well, because it's not pushing the sub bass over the mid bass so much. But you're going to lack a certain sense of liveliness, because this is really just almost a monitor in a way. The clairvoyance. Having thought about all of these and putting all of these in a video and listening to these would be the ones that do have impact. Not quite as much as the up, but it's got good impact, and it's not quite as polite as this because it's got more mid bass. It's got more sub bass and mid bass. This is similar to the Elysian, actually, in its line. This is similar to the MEST Mark II in its line. So this would be the set that most matches my library over the EJ07M, over the variations, over the Oracle. And if you got this and you like it, fine. If you thought you needed more bass, this would probably be the one, but you could have seen that on a graph at your own. There's so many graphs of both of these sets now. So there's that. All of these are good sets. Again, it's depending on your listening volume and your library, more so what you're looking at. If somebody says that one of these is just way beyond the other, I think they're full of shit. I can't find it. I can simply find areas where one does better than the other. These are all good earphones, but they're probably more directed to different people. If you like your slam, if you want a slam like you've never had with Tribrids, this would be your set right here. These are wicked, savage. And that's it. The helicopters are coming. They're coming to get me. And I'm out. Coming from Queens. Coming.